Nightwing, issue 85. Tom Taylor writing, Robbie Rodriguez on the art. And this kind of shifts the focus. Nightwing's obviously still there. It's still Nightwing and Babs, but this one shifts the narration and the point of view to Babs.
Yeah.
So, which is kind of nice because she's not had her own book for a little bit, and I've been enjoying her characterization in Nightwing. So it's kind of nice to have Taylor sort of right from that perspective.
When you know Taylor nails her voice.
Oh yeah. I mean, immediately
Taylor nailing a voice. I'm shocked.
No, right?
Immediately, you have like her sort of like summing up kind of what's going on, which again is kind of this necessary evil, but it's a nice touch where you see Steph and Cass again. You see Oliver and Dinah and Wonder Woman's like, hey, the Oracle network is compromised, don't believe anything you hear from it after this message, kind of thing. So Dick and Babs destroy her computers and stuff, and they're like, hey, she's got like a site too that's got a lot of the important stuff that's like sort of not on a network, so it can't be easily accessed and stuff. So we need to go and deal with that like right now. But there's some great moments in here actually, and the art. I think we said this a lot last issue, which is like it's not as good as the regular artist, but it's by no means bad art.
I think it's spectacular when it does the flashbacks.
Yeah, flashbacks are great. Yeah.
Sometimes when the artist does Bab's face and the cowl, especially the new cowl, it looks a little bit wonky.
No, I agree with that. There's actually a panel right at the end of the book where Bab's head looks freaking weird, and I don't know what's going on. I do think the motion, as I see all them like running on rooftops and jumping and grappling to the city, I think all that looks great.
Yeah, I was gonna say the sense of motion and action and everything like that. But there's the odd page where her head looks way wonky, and it's just like the design of the cowl or whatever.
There's a panel towards the end, I think the one I'm talking about, where I think she looks like Marilyn Manson. Like that is what I'd compare her to in the panel.
At the end of the book, not the end of the flashback.
End of the book, yeah. I think. I mean, if it's not, I'll point out when I get there. I'm saying that from memory. But there's a great moment actually after they smash all the computers where Babs is like, hey, she set you into a trap to mess with me. It was never about you. And I just love the smirk in Nightwing's face. He says, I like to think it was a little about me. It's one of those things where the art gave it a little bit of personality, which is always nice to see. So they go off. It's got that thing as well when they're out in the city. It's got that thing that a lot of Future State had, which is the blinding lights of Gotham, which especially fits in right now because they're doing that whole thing where the magistrate have got drones and the big eye in the sky and all that. It's
a techno. What do you call it? It's not like a techno noir vibe, but like there's a vibe to it. I can't think of it, but there's a word for it.
A neo noir?
No. There's just like just with all the bright lights, but everything's still dirty.
Okay.
Like there's a.
It's bordering on cyberpunk, to be honest.
Yeah.
Huh?
It's bordering on cyberpunk.
Yeah, maybe that's the word I'm looking for. But but like it's still lit up, but that doesn't mean that it's not like, still dark and gritty and whatnot. It just has that outward appearance.
So yeah, we get a flashback. It's sort of like when they're leaving the tower. It's Babs like talking young Dick into like going out on their own as Batgirl and Robin. So she's in the classic grey suit, he's in his Robin suit, and they're holding hands and jumping.
No pants.
No pants, no.
The Robin suit with no pants.
Yes. In fact, the next panel after that, when it comes back to present day, I mentioned how good it looked when they were going through the city, but that first panel of like, she's almost got that classic Batman thing where like the cape just kind of becomes a silhouette, and you don't see her legs. And Nightwing's in the foreground. That looks really nice.
I love it with the lights behind them as well.
Yeah, a lot of good stuff. And the art later on does that thing it did last time. It keeps that what I'm going to call the Sam Neill Daredevil thing, where it sort of like goes into like the device changing and then the little.
Oh, I gotcha.
Yeah, like it's like the little. Oh, it turns into a.
Yeah, it's like an instruction manual.
Yeah, it turns into like a smoke grenade or something in this one.
Yeah, pellet. So like he manages to turn it into like a smoke grenade launcher.
Yes,
it's cool as shit.
But in between that, I like the conversation they have about how Oracle or how Dick is taking her to task. Where it's like, you didn't think this was a bad idea, having constantly monitoring everybody. an Oracle in every camera.
And it boils down to, well, now I do.
Well, yeah. Well, it seemed like a good idea at the time because it wasn't going to be misused because I was always going to be in control. And I love that's their dynamic, right? That he's the one going like, well, you're so smart, but how did you see this? And then she'll call him out. We've seen her call him out for other, things that he does.
They kind of complement each other. It's like she has the almost that arrogance of Bruce, which is she believes she can control things like this.
Yeah.
And Dick's there to call her out, but Dick's kind of the one who's more jump in head first without thinking, and she'll call him out on that. There's a nice balance between them, which I love it. Really nice. So good stuff. So the fight past the drones to get into this storage locker.
Like a strange oversight that they don't have any sort of infrared vision. Like, just me.
I mean, sure. I didn't really think about it, but yeah, I mean,
like if I'm equipping state-of-the-art drones to fight in Gotham against potentially Batman, famous for using smoke.
But to that, you would think that Saint would think that he's going to have everything such under control that he's not going to have the infrared because they have every other technology,
Yes, but they are befuddled by some smoke.
Yes.
Well, I mean, Simon's saying...
Well, not just smoke, but smoke and Batgirl and Nightwing working together. You know what I mean? Like, it's not just smoke. They're...
Well, it might as well be. They're blind.
Eh.
I mean, Simon's saying, as we have seen, is not... he's a little unhinged, and... this is the sort of thing where you could almost do a comedy cutaway where he realizes, you could have him go, "Damn it, I should have put infrared sensors on my robots."
Or he's having a panic attack, and we're like, "Don't tell me, don't tell me, don't tell me. I don't want to know."
I just imagine a techie spinning around in his chairs like, "Mr. Saint, did you ever see the movie Predator? Because I've got a few suggestions of how we can upgrade our drones."
No, they'll just cover themselves in mud. It's fine.
So they get inside, and immediately there's smoke, and there's a moment here where Dick gets shot in the head, a la like he did before. I don't think that
like that.
I think because of the smoke, you immediately know it's not real. So I don't think there's anything where the readers
as well. What you're neglecting to mention is the smoke is green.
Yes, that too. But I think because I feel like if you describe this to someone might think, oh, they're pretending to do the Dick shot in the head again thing, and no, but it's just a fear. Knowing it's Bab's worst fear that she's seeing, and that's what we're actually looking at, means that there was never even a question that this was real or it's very clear what it is from the get go.
Yeah. I don't like being reminded of Rick Grayson though.
Yes,
that's my fear. That's right there.
I mean, this was dead Grayson.
Yeah, this was just full on dead. Yes, but she's fighting the perpetrator that she believes did this, and just as she's about to get grabbed, the gas mask comes on, and Tim's there. He's got them both with respirators, and he's like, "Don't worry, there was fear toxin. Whatever you saw wasn't real." And we finally have the Babs Dick kiss. Babs just rushes over to Dick and kisses him, and Tim goes, "Oh, finally!"
Yeah, I love that.
We're waiting for this. So. Now, a sweet moment. If you've been enjoying their chemistry in this book, this is a nice. It's nice to have a moment like this in the big crossover where. Yeah, sure, the crossover might feel like a bit of a redirection from whatever the book's doing, and we'll go back to that soon, but having character beats like that pay off when there's a big crisis like this still makes it feel like it's a very valid part of the journey for the characters in the run, even if it isn't integral to the overall story that's been told in the run. So, neat. They're going to shut everything down. Sears... monologuing and giving them shit for it, and they can't figure out who she is, but Babs does say, "Yeah, but we can see your background, so we know you're up there, you're in the big eye in the sky," and but this is when we get the big cliffhanger where she's like, "Hey, I'm monitoring your clock tower, and some of your friends are there," and we see Babs and Steph arrive in the clock tower. Our three characters run, so we get this great panel at the bottom of that page where they're running towards the clock tower, and the final page is the clock tower exploding and them looking up, and it's that final panel where I think Babs looks like Marilyn Manson. It's horrific. I don't know what's going on there, but good ending to the issue though. It's a good cliffhanger. You know?
Yeah. And this is the one that says at the end of this, read the Batgirl story in Batman 116, which is the next issue, not this week's.
Yeah. So that's fair.
Follow up on presumably the Stefan.
The sad part is that I think that top panel is really good. Like, you know, from behind where they're all looking up at the explosion. I think that looks great. And then the faces at the bottom just kind of like ruin it. But yeah.
So about the where Seer is. So this person works for the magistrate. We're supposed to believe, right?
Either works for or like I don't know if they're doing this at the behest of the magistrate or if this is someone who is sort of doing their own thing.
That's my question, because they know now, like they know who Barbara is, right? Because in the Batgirl story, she takes the form of
her dad, yeah.
Her dad and Bruce, you know, as Batman. You know, so if it's someone working for the magistrate, then does that person know who the Bat family already is, and do they just not care?
I mean, this person definitely does. They kind of call them by name multiple times over various issues that we've had.
Which I think, and it's not like Simon Saint seems to have that knowledge, so I would suspect that this is someone who maybe is posing to work for the magistrate or has maybe just, I don't know, infiltrated.
On a bit of a power trip and not pass that knowledge along to Simon Saint.
Possibly. It wouldn't surprise me though if it does turn out to be someone that we do know who would have maybe some of this knowledge.
Well,
and is.
I didn't even think about the calculator until you guys mentioned that.
Saint's willing to work with Scarecrow. We already know that.
Mm-hmm.
Presumably, maybe some Mad Hatter. Yeah, wouldn't put it past him at this point. Why not some of the lower tier villains as well that are just on the payroll?
Yeah, and then the question is because obviously this is adding to the fear in the city, so there's a good reason to think that Scarecrow might be ordering this, whoever's doing it, and maybe he's even using his toxin to control them. That's possible.
More of my idea is this person's working with Scarecrow more than they're working with Saint. They just, you know, doing what Scarecrow did. You know what I mean? Where they got in using Saint's tech, but they have their own mission.
Yeah. Whether it's because it's something they want to do or just because Scarecrow's toxined them into sort of doing this, you know, remains to be seen. I think that's sort of thing we can't really theorize properly about until we know who it is. I feel like once we know who it is, we can sort of maybe make more definitive ideas about what their motive is, or
if it isn't revealed in that same issue.
Yes, that's true. Yes, I mean obviously that's very possible. Maybe a 1-2 punch. But yeah, I dug this issue of Nightwing. I think it's better than the last issue of the tie-in arc. Not by a huge margin because that was still pretty solid. And this is solid again. Still not as great as like what the book's doing when it's just on its own. But as far as tie-ins go,
I mean, we got a solid tie-in. Redondo's getting a break, so you know, come back recharge for the next part of the book.
Hopefully, getting ahead on his issues a little bit, perhaps.
I see no problems here.
Yeah, nice characterization of Babs. Some nice sweet moments. Some mostly good art with a couple of dodgy faces.
Yeah,
here or there. So, not too shabby. Matt, what are you giving Nightwing? 84, 85. Sorry.
That's right. I'm giving it an
8. Connor?
Also an 8.
Yeah, I'd probably go at 8.5 if it wasn't for that horrible last face. That's like a half a point. Just
do you know what? You'd probably have forgiven if it was in the middle of the issue, but it's because it's the very last thing you see. It sticks with you.
Yeah, it's the remaining image is this horrific looking Babs. It's like, what the hell?
She's got Joker eyes. Don't know.